Hello, I'm Tamika S. Hood, and today I'm going to talk to you about 3 ways to pivot from pain to power when met with macro and microaggressions. Have you ever felt like an imposter internally? Like no matter how much you accomplish, you still were not good enough or smart enough? Like you did not belong at that seat at the table? That seat that women fought to have through the women's right movement, the seat that Black people fought to have through the civil rights movement, the seat that you know you have not really been invited to, but that you had to pull up to that patriarchal table because you had the passion and the purpose to pursue your purpose. So you did that? Yeah, that seat. Well, it's not that you don't belong. It's that others try to project their insecurities and ignorance onto you to make you feel like you don't belong through macro and microaggressions. Coined by Pierce in 1978 and further developed by Sue in 2007, microaggressions are the subtle, derogatory insults that aim at a person who's a member of an oppressed group based on stereotypes. Microaggressions occur in the form of covert or implicit biases, which is when the deliverer is unaware of their biased comments. Yet there have been more overt discrimination occurrences in recent years. Those are considered to be macroaggressions. For instance, have you ever been in a meeting speaking and a person from the majority group, white or male, cuts you off and talks over you? Or worse, have you ever been in the middle of a presentation and a person from the majority group questions your knowledge, skills, and abilities in front of others? Real talk, I was presenting on a live webinar last month talking about the importance of bringing a diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging lens to organizational decision making. And the white female client cuts me off to say, I thought you were going to talk about Juneteenth. And I pause, I'm thinking, why? Because I'm Black? This was a macroaggression, as the client kept interrupting me throughout my portion of the presentation and did not interrupt my white colleague, not once during her part of the presentation. Or have you ever had someone from the majority group say to you, you speak so well, or you're always changing your hair, or if you're in a meeting, they ask you to take notes? This is a microaggression, and it's more covert or implicit. Although they're referred to as slights, they're more like slices that slowly chip away at you, leaving scars of self-doubt, self-selecting of how you should show up in the space where you feel you don't belong, where you fear being your authentic self because of the constant battle with these macro and microaggressions that you're met with. These feelings are called the imposter phenomenon, and it refers to high achieving women's internal experiences of intellectual phoniness and self-doubt. And self-doubt is real. No matter how much you may have accomplished, imposter phenomenon makes you feel like it's not enough. So for me, I was born and raised in the South Bronx, New York. I am a wife, a mom, and a child of God. I've gotten my bachelor's degree in mass communications with a minor in psychology. I have my master's in industrial and organizational psychology. I'm also a doctoral candidate pursuing a degree in organizational leadership. I'm a strategy and advisory consultant. I'm a certified professional diversity coach. I'm a diversity coach instructor. I'm also the founder and CEO of Couture Coaching. And I'm the founder and CEO of Divine Destiny Publishing. And I'm also an author of Out of the Wilderness, Weathering Life Storms, From Trials Through Triumph, a spiritual poetry book. But despite all of these accomplishments that I achieved, while still battling anxiety and depression, I still felt like an imposter in the leadership spaces that I entered. I thought it was me, something I wasn't doing right, but I let others' limited views of themselves place limitations on my abilities to walk in my God-designed destiny. So I dug deeper in my dissertation research and found that there have been no considerations made for the environment in which imposter phenomenon ignites due to the fuel and the fire of macro and microaggressions. And although we are in a pivotal point in American history where racial reckoning and systemic injustices have greater visibility, There are some organizations who are just not ready to address the detrimental impact that these derogatory insults have on their minority population. So today, I want to take the focus off of the scars and shed light on the shining stars that may have been dimmed due to the diminished capacity to deal with the weight of these painful poisons of racial gender discrimination in the form of macro and microaggressions. So today, we'll talk about how do you pivot from pain to power when met with macro and microaggressions. So I'm going to discuss 3 ways in which you can do so. Number 1, pause, breathe. Take time to process the pain before responding. If you need a mental health day, take it. Recently, I dealt with some macro and microaggressions in my workplace, and I was trying to push through and trying to be that strong Black woman as we're taught to, you know, in our generations as Black women. And I finally realized in order for me to be good, not just for myself, but for my family, I had to step away. I had to take a break. And I used my insurance. I was able to take some time off and just rest and reset. And so I encourage you, if you're dealing with those types of anxious feelings, or you're feeling depressed due to any of these discriminations that you've experienced, it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to take time off to heal. Also, meditation and prayer works for me. That was super instrumental in helping me to heal during my time off. But for you, it may mean reading a book while taking a relaxing bath, or having a spa day to unwind and release the stress of the traumatic event. Practice self-care and self-compassion, because if you don't care for you, no one else will. Now, the second way in which you can pivot from pain to power when met with macro and microaggressions is to pronounce. Pronounce means that now that you've paused, and when you're ready, or if you feel comfortable, bring the macro or microaggression offense to the attention of the offender. In the case of microaggressions, sometimes they are unconsciously committed due to implicit bias, and communicating to the offender may bring about an understanding. But please, please, please do not attach any expectation to the conversation, because some offenders may not understand, and they may focus on their guilt, or they did not intend to offend. For instance, I did confront the offender, and they made excuses, or they said, "I'm sorry if you felt that way," that diminished apology. And I explained it's not if, that is how your actions impacted me. So again, it's not about the intent, it's about the impact it has on you. In other cases, such as macroaggressions, you may need to bring the offense to the attention of your supervisor, but again, don't have any expectations, because they may not be comfortable handling the situation, as organizations may not be ready to address the macro and microaggressions behavior. So pronouncing to others may not always be an option, and that's okay, but it's essentially important to pronounce to yourself through affirmations. Remember who you are and whose you are, not who others label you as based on their own limitations. There's life and death in the power of the tongue. So look at your reflection in the mirror and tell yourself, you're beautiful inside and out. You are strong. You are brave. You are intelligent. You are capable. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are qualified. You are royalty. The final way in which you can pivot from pain to power when met with macro and microaggressions is to prosper. Although these harsh winds of derogatory insults blow, your branch might bend. Oh, it will bend, but it will not break, because you are bigger than the bigotry. You have a purpose. After being met with macro and microaggressions like me, I'm sure many of you may have felt disrespected, deflated, discounted, and maybe even defeated. But I'm here to tell you today that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. So reposition your crown, sis, and remember that your divine destiny is just on the other side of that door. And while opposition may be in front of the door, it does not have to define who you are. So speak positively over yourself. And like the women pictured here, continue to press towards the prize. Continue to pursue your passion and purpose on your path to prosper. Thank you.